The views expressed in this podcast are solely based on personal experience and is not intended to replace professional medical advice. Our opinions should not be taken as therapeutic advice, as this podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Police Condition. My name's Ryan, and sitting across from me, and always standing beside me, my lovely wife, Laura.
Hello.
So today, we are going to be talking about that tough cop mentality. I know anybody in this field has always met that really, really tough cop. That one who just thinks he's got the baddest walk in law enforcement, right? He's a complete hard ass to everybody, always a dick to people, and just walks around like he's God's gift to law enforcement. I think we see that all too often, and I think a part of that really affects our job because those tough cops, or even some might say asshole cops, give us kind of a bad name. I mean, sometimes you need to be an asshole. I mean, I've been an asshole several times to people, but only when they deserve it. I don't just walk up and I'm a complete asshole right away.
I think on the other side of things, as someone from the general population, you see a tough cop as being like a complete asshole. When I look at cops, I think all of them have a tough cop mentality that is very much different than like the general population, because you kind of have to be. So there, I think there's like a lot of levels of that tough cop, but I feel like in general, all of you guys do have it, and girls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I mean, there has to be some sort of mental toughness there to
Yeah.
even kind of do this job.
Yeah. And like, I could tell too, like being the person being pulled over, because I've been pulled over like 1,000 times for speeding. Most of them were very nice people. Like they had to do their job and they were just very polite. Um, but I had a couple that you could just tell like they wanted to teach me a lesson, or give me this like long lecture of like going 10 over the speed limit, and they just had to be that authoritative figure. And maybe that shows up somewhere else in their own lives, I don't know, but there are those guys that you're talking about out there that I definitely can see.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some people deserve tongue lashings for certain things that they do when it's very unsafe,
Mm.
but not everybody deserves it. And you're not there as a cop to teach people a lesson. You're there to keep them safe and keep everyone else safe. And if it involves stopping someone because of speeding or driving recklessly, sure, but you don't have to be an asshole about it.
Yeah. I think one of the things that the place that I work for really kind of hones in on is asking like their spouses if obviously they've known them before they were a cop, and what changed in that person after becoming a cop. And I love hearing those answers too, because it's usually like, oh, they're cynical, or they're not empathetic, or they're very quiet, or they're an asshole. Kind of just like keeping all these emotions into, and that kind of makes yourself part of that tough cop mentality even at home.
Yeah. What changed in me?
It's hard to tell though, because
'Cause I had that Marine Corps mentality
yeah,
when we
it's
first
about the same.
got together. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't really see too much of a difference since you did do that and had that experience. Yeah, yeah. I don't really have an answer there.
So you're saying as I've always been an asshole?
Always, always been an asshole.
All right then. Well, yeah. So, but no, yeah. I mean, you're right, because when it comes down to it, you have to be tough to do what we do. There's parts that if you're not tough, like I said, you're not going to make it through. I mean, having the idea that no matter, or not no matter what, but that you might have to take someone's life. I mean, you got to be a little bit tough for that.
Yeah, definitely. And again, with the brain's an association maker, so it's not like you can take your work hat off or your work brain off, and when you come home, it's like you're dealing with somebody on the job that maybe you do need that tongue lashing, or you need to really be more assertive with that person. And you come home and like your kid's doing something crazy, and your brain's going to click and be like the same person and react the same way as you would with the person that you had on the street. And it's unfortunate. It's hard to like turn those things off.
Yeah. I mean, especially when you're coming off of a long shift or a long weekend of shifts in a row, and you just need some sleep and some rest. And first thing
Mm.
you get is kids screaming and arguing and fighting, and you just dealt with people arguing and screaming and fighting for
Yeah.
36 hours almost, and
Yeah.
yeah, you
Mm.
need that break, but you can't get it. And then how do you deal with it when you're on the streets? You get that tough cop mentality and that boom in your voice, and you're like, listen here, this is what's
Mm.
going on. I need you all to stop, or you
Yeah.
arrest somebody, or and then you get home and you do that with your kids. It's a whole different thing because your kids don't deserve that. They're just being kids.
Yeah. And I think it's more for cops too, that population, because we're talking about like the nervous system, and y'all's are so dysregulated. As you have the higher highs and the lower lows than like the general population. So when you're in that high, you're like technically like that beast mode, that hypervigilance, the always aware of everything. But then what happens when what goes up must come down? So when you're down, that's usually shown at home, and
Hmm.
that's usually more irritability and depression and anxiety, and your family sees all that.
Yeah, and it sucks because you don't want your family to see that side of you because you
Yeah.
want to be that loving, caring father or mother to your kids, and
Yeah.
you don't want to be an asshole to them because you don't want to cause them issues.
Yeah. And sometimes at work, that high is like too much sometimes. Like if it's like a critical incident and it's like, you know, a lot going on, it could be like that nervous system capacity, we call it, where it's just too much on the system. So when you do come home, you're drinking a lot more than you usually do, or you're yelling a lot more. And sometimes a lot of people don't know why. Like they're just like, why am I like this at home? Like, and they're not even thinking about that critical incident they just had.
Yeah, they don't realize what it's actually doing to their brain and how
Hmm.
it affects their mental thoughts and their body and everything.
Yeah. And I feel like, working on the job for so long, um, even like 3 years, I feel like 2 years, that association with like what you do on the job kind of like shapes your personality traits. And, personality can change over time. And I think that is what we're seeing a lot with the cop population, is a lot of people who have to be like on guard or tough even in their daily life, even when those lines aren't up or down. They're kind of like, maybe they're on vacation or they've taken some time off, like that's still there with them, like that never goes away, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing. Even when I'm off duty, I'm still carrying a gun. I'm still watching everyone around me,
Yeah.
and it's probably not quite as hyper vigilant, but I'm still pretty hyper vigilant even when I'm at home or we're out and about at the store or anything like that. Because you want to protect your family, and
Mm.
so you gotta pay attention to things. So it's you get hypervigilant at work. It comes down when you're home, but then you go out maybe on your weekend, and then hypervigilance probably doesn't go up quite as high, but it still goes up.
Yeah. Now, do you feel like in like everyday situations when you're not on duty, that you maybe interact with people differently? Not like your family, but like maybe a stranger that maybe said something to you or whatever. Do you feel like you act differently or talk differently, or do you feel like you bring that cop mode on?
I guess it just depends. The person I'm talking to or trying to talk to me maybe doesn't look like a very reputable person. I mean, you remember that time I was just out in the garage doing some work, and some random, I mean, had to have been on meth because the things he was saying to me came up to me
Mm.
and started asking me questions, and I had to like stop and be like, listen, dude, I'm not trying to be a dick, but get the fuck away from my house. Like, I'm not on duty.
Mm.
I don't work for this city that I live in. Like, don't ever come back to my house and try to talk to me about things
Yeah.
because my family's here and I don't know who the fuck you are and I don't want you here.
Yeah.
So it's like with that guy, obviously I went right to cop mode, and I
Yeah.
was I was kind of mad at myself because I was just in my garage working, so I didn't have my pistol on me. It was in the house, and if
Mm.
this dude wanted to do something stupid, I couldn't have done anything about it.
Yeah, you didn't really think about that though. You're in
Right,
your house, and you had your patrol car out there, so that's why he stopped, right?
right, exactly.
Yeah. What about when you're not at your house? Because I feel like that's more of like the protective factor of things too. Like if you're at a grocery store or something, and like
I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm just by myself,
Mm.
no, I feel like I'm pretty. I mean, unless I tell them I'm a cop, I don't think people really realize I'm a cop. Like,
Mm.
we talked about the way I dress and stuff. Probably most people wouldn't think I'm
Yeah.
a cop, but I mean, it seems to really just be for me is when like y'all are with me,
Yeah.
because then I go into that protective mode and want to protect you guys and make sure nothing happens to you.
What if they like throw the law at you and they're like completely wrong? Are you like really excited to like correct them and
Like when I'm off duty,
yeah, maybe throw out some credentials there?
mm, no, not really.
Okay.
I don't even want to drag myself into those kind of conversations. I mean, we had this conversation yesterday because on our Facebook page, some random people have posted some anti-cop material,
Mm.
and the things they say don't make any sense. But instead of, as much as I wanted to engage it and tell them that they're idiots, I just decided not to because it's Facebook and it's not worth it,
Yeah.
and I just deleted the comments. But
Yeah. Like 10 years ago, I totally would have been on
yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
that.
a few years, yeah, probably around there when I used to argue with people all the time on Facebook, and I
Mm.
just got to a point where this is worthless.
Yeah.
Does nothing for anybody. I'm not
Yeah.
changing anyone's minds. Like, this is dumb.
Yeah. And there's like an exhaustion to it. I feel like sometimes, I know with me, mental health is everywhere and people always talk about it and they have their own opinions. And sometimes I listen to people and they're completely like, I don't know, bad information they got or something, or just like that's how they view the world. I don't know what it is, but like I just sit there and listen. Like, and there's part of me that's like, let's talk about this. Let's correct it. But I'm like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not on the clock right now.
Right,
Like, I
exactly.
don't
I
care.
mean, it's the same thing. Like, a couple times I've had people come up to our house. Remember that one time we used to have a neighbor that had a huge turtle, like one of the giant turtles. It lived down the street from us.
Oh yeah,
And I guess the turtle got out one day and it was walking down the street, and some dude comes up to a house, knocks on our door, open the door. I'm like, "Can I help you?" He's like, "Is the sheriff here?" I'm like, "No, sheriff doesn't live here." He's like, "Oh, well, there's a giant turtle, excuse me,
turtle.
turtle, turtle walking down the street." I'm like, "Okay, we'll call the city. Don't come to my house and ask me about it. Like, I'm not working and
Yeah,
I don't work in this area, so."
yeah.
And it's so if anybody's listening who isn't a cop and you have a cop neighbor, don't go to their fucking house and knock on their door to ask them to do something or to ask them legal questions, because that's not cool. It's not cool
Yeah.
at all. Like, we deserve a break from our jobs too. Our jobs are super stressful as it is.
Mm.
We deserve to go home and not think about shit like that,
Especially a turtle.
Yeah, especially a giant fucking turtle walking down the street.
But
Which, it's funny because I thought the dude just meant like a normal turtle,
yeah,
and then I saw it on the Facebook, like
it's like a
the
tortoise,
neighborhood
right?
Facebook. It was one of those giant, like 100-pound turtles, and
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
never.
"Holy
He got out
shit!"
all the time. I never was able to see him.
Yeah, I've never. I only saw the picture. I was like, wow, that really was a giant turtle." I thought this dude just meant like a little turtle.
Right. And I think that too kind of builds those personality traits of that tough cop mentality. Just because like those types of things do happen when you're even off duty, and like having to deal with that situation when you are, turn that brain off essentially, and that
Right.
happens. It's like, ugh.
And I realized, like, with stuff like that, when people come up to my house and ask me stuff, I'm definitely more of an asshole than I
Mm,
would be normally at work. Like, people come up randomly to me at work and ask me questions or say stupid stuff, like we talked about.
yeah,
And I'm polite about it because I'm working and I'm being professional. But when
yeah,
you're at my house, I'm not working, I'm not nice because I don't know who the fuck you are. I
yeah,
don't know why you're coming up to my house. Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to be nice to you.
yeah,
To me, that's an invasion of my privacy almost.
yeah. And even like going to like lunch with you, like I know in your community right now where you work, that's one thing because it says the name of the city on your uniform. But like even in county, like going anywhere, like people would come up and talk to you out of nowhere. I know we talked about this last time, but I can only imagine like just trying to go down or go eat a meal on your own without being talked to, or like, usually they're nice people, but I'm sure you get like a-holes or annoying people all the time. But I just picture like if I was like a medical doctor and like I was always in, the lab coat or whatever, like walking down the street, I can't imagine how many people would come up and like ask for medical advice and shit. So it's like with the cops, it's like the same thing, that authoritative figure that people just kind of like, they gravitate to. And it builds those characteristics in you to be like, shield it in a way, but like try to be nice. But there's only so much people can take of
Right,
that kind of
right.
stuff.
And if it's like friends that they're my friends and they ask me, or like my neighbors and stuff, if they'd ask me some law enforcement questions,
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind. I don't mind answering them. It's
yeah,
just random people.
random
Yeah,
people. Yeah, because you don't, your neighbors, your friends, like that interaction, them. But like random people come up, it's always that like I don't know who you are and how this conversation's gonna go at all.
uh-huh.
That's always fun.
And like I like having a take-home car just because it saves us some money, but
Mm,
it always worries me too because first off, a big billboard showing, "Hey, a cop lives here," and
yeah,
I don't know what people are thinking and if they're crazy or not.
yeah, definitely. So we talk about like I feel like that's more of the nurture aspect of like the nature versus nurture debate in the tough man or tough cop mentality.
Right.
And again, like it depends on the individual too. Like someone could have these traits and come into the job and like it makes it worse. And maybe that's where you see those asshole cops that, give tickets to everybody and just like, lights a fire under your ass every time
Yeah.
you talk
Oh
to
yeah.
them.
I don't understand that cop either.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a ticket for everything. It's like taillights out. They didn't know. They don't deserve a ticket for that. Now,
Yeah.
if you stop them over and over again because of it, because they don't get it fixed, that's different. But
Yeah.
most of the time, I mean, if I stop someone for anything like that, it's like, hey, I'm just letting you know you need to get this fixed.
Yeah.
And, if I want to look in the car and see if maybe there's something else I want to look for, it's good for that.
Yeah.
But mainly when I stop that stuff, I always tell, especially like license plate lights, I'll stop people for that all the time. And no one ever knows
Mm.
because no one thinks to look at that. So I'm just like, hey, just letting you know your
Yeah.
license plate light is out.
I'd be pissed if you gave me a ticket for license
I
plate
know,
light
right?
out.
Now, like I said, if it's someone, and, and I hate to say it, and I try not to do it at all, but the whole POP thing, the pissed off police,
Mm.
you stop someone and they're a complete asshole, sometimes they're going to get a ticket. And that's not how it works. It's not how it should work.
Mm.
But it happens sometimes because we are human and we have emotions. And,
Yeah.
if you want
Yeah.
to treat us like shit right away, like, I mean, I had one lady, which she was speeding, so she was going very fast. She was getting a ticket. But right away, she was just a complete bitch. I mean, just straight up, why'd you stop me? What the hell's going on? Like, what? How dare you?
Mm.
And then I was like, well, I stopped you because you were going 64 and a 45. She's like, how do you know? I'm like, because I saw it on my radar. Like,
This little thing in my car
yeah.
that measures your
I,
speed.
I told you she called the city, right?
Mm.
Yeah, she called the city to ask, do they have radars in their car?
Mm.
And our city secretary was like, yeah, and they work really well.
Wow. And that too, like having that discretion. Like this lady obviously felt like she was above the law and she was the exception to the rule. And it's,
Oh, yeah, and she tried to tell me some law stuff that she was completely wrong
they
on.
usually are, I feel like. It's like, where are you reading this?
Like, where do you get this from?
Yeah, that's interesting. But if you want to dive into the nurture side of things, I found this very, very interesting because there's something called the comp gene, which they've labeled the warrior gene. And being in, like, have a master's in forensic psychology, so a lot of my stuff is really psychopathy and learning about sociopaths and psychopaths and liars and the kind of the antisocial behaviors and
Serial killer.
serial killers. Yes, they're all serial killers, every single one of them. But it really honed in and focused on this warrior gene because it's a mutation in the gene in utero. And basically, when the mother is very high stress and cortisol is dumped, really like at a very high level, like something extremely traumatic, a very critical incident that happens to her when she's pregnant, the baby gets affected by this, and that mutation is the warrior gene. And what happens is it basically kicks out the empathetic gene, and we see this a lot, obviously, in psychopaths where they cannot express empathy. They don't have empathy. They don't have the ability to even use it. They don't have it, but they have the warrior gene, um, which is a very tough gene in a sense. But a lot of traits you see from that is aggression, impulsivity, anxiety and depression, and of course those antisocial behaviors. So a lot of my studies were focused on like the psychopathy of things and those types of people who had it. Like it was theorized. I don't know if it's theorized or it was proven, but I don't know how they would have proved that. But like Ted Bundy had it because he had a great life. He had a loving family and
Yeah,
just
it was all porn. Remember,
yeah.
it was porn that made him kill
Oh yeah,
all
that's what
those
he said
women.
in yeah. But like if you look at his childhood development, there was no abnormality in
Mm,
it that people always question like, well, why did he do all these terrible things? And they were able to link
because
that
of
the
porn.
gene because of porn, yeah. The porn gene. He was really excited about porn. But no, there's a nature explanation to this that he was born with it. And psychopaths actually, if they could diagnose, let's say, antisocial personality disorder, which you can't. There's no diagnosis for a psychopath, so it would have to be antisocial, and you can't diagnose that until the person is 18, because it's a personality trait or a personality disorder. But as they did research, you could actually see the signs when the child's 6 years old, and there are some people out there that theorize that if they could have the support of the parents and like actually do like some intervention on that child that they could actually reverse those traits in that person.
But
But
it'd have to be done really young.
it would, and of course parents are gonna be like, my son's their child's a psychopath, like
My
no
child's
one's
an angel.
he is an angel.
My little angel.
um but yeah, reading that in the sense, in the lens of like the psychopathy world, it blew my mind when I'm reading about it in like people who are in first responding jobs, especially cops. There's a lot of cops that have this gene. And it's not saying you're a psychopath. It's just saying you have a lot of these traits of like aggression, impulsivity. You also have that anxiety and depression. But it makes sense to where, the jobs that you guys have to do, you're putting your life on the line every day. Um, being cynical is another trait from this gene that a lot of them character they show. You have to have all these traits to do what you do, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense.
Yeah.
Be able to know that any given day you could be shot at or killed, or you can
Mm.
any day have to shoot somebody, or you have to go in and see someone who's been murdered or killed themselves or killed in a car accident. I mean,
Mm.
there's so much that we have to deal with that it could, I mean, you have to have something wrong with you to do that, right?
There's nothing wrong with you, but it gives a good explanation to, people doing this job. I know me, like I could never do this job ever. Like there's so many reasons, a big list of why I couldn't. And in the end, like the theme of that is like I'm kind of passive and weak in that sense that I wouldn't be able to like I'm not observant at all, you know me, and I'm terrible with directions, so that would be terrible too. But
You'd go the wrong way.
yeah, I mean, I obviously went the opposite side of things, and I'm in the empathy business of therapy, and you're on the other side. So it's interesting how different the personalities are, but how close that could be to like the psychopath gene.
Yeah, it's very weird to think that they're both so close.
Mm.
Now, I mean, some people would get on here and say, "Well, yeah, cops are psychopaths. They're just murderers and all that shit." But obviously, that's not true, and that's
No, and I know I said like the comp gene pushes the empathy gene out, and it does. So the difference for me to look at it this way is like someone who's a psychopath, they don't engage in empathy. They don't have remorse, they don't have all this stuff, but they don't engage in empathy. Empathy can be a skill. You can learn it and you can adapt to it and you can practice it. And I think a lot of people that aren't psychopaths that have this gene do adapt to empathy because, and that's where the nurture part comes in. Maybe they did have this good upbringing. They don't have these serial killer traits of wanting to do something terrible, and they use that empathy skill in their everyday lives, and it's gotten good things in life, I guess, or just makes them feel better. So
yeah,
the empathy can be learned and practiced. So you can still have empathy. It's just not genetically,
yeah.
given to you.
I mean, I feel like I've got pretty good empathy for a lot of the people. I probably give out more warnings because of my empathy for people than I do cited people that probably do deserve citations. That I'm like, just don't do it again. Like,
Yeah.
or they're going through a hard time. I mean, like I said about the one kid that was going through a really hard time, and could he have gotten a couple tickets? Yeah, but
Mm.
the kid was a good kid. He's never been in trouble before, and he was just going through a really hard time, and I felt for him. So
And I'm not saying every cop has this gene. I don't believe that at all. In fact, the studies that I read, no, like it's just a statistical significance in it. There's also cops that don't have it, and they're also not outliers to that. There's just a lot of cops that don't have it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's definitely that nature versus nurture thing here, and the cops that don't have it, it's definitely part of their environment that like crafts them to be these people. And to me, I feel like the ones that you're talking about that are like over the top tough all the time, I feel like they might be the ones that have it. And then the job just makes it even more
Makes it
severe.
worse. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense too, though. That's why they're such jerks to people because they don't have those empathy skills.
Yeah. To me, I always wonder about that too. Like, it's just what's going on in your life that's so messed up that you have to be such a jerk to people. I remember I've told you the story when I was 15, wasn't supposed to be out, snuck out of my parents' house. Sorry, mom and dad, they know about it, but took my brother's truck and we went to the next two cities over, and we got pulled over, and it was probably like midnight, and it was me and two other girls. No, I think it was three other girls. We're all 15, underage, and shouldn't be out. And he pulled us over, told us he pulled us over because we had like some like I don't know, it was like gas cans in the back, which we didn't even have that, like in the bed of the truck. And he just yeah, at the time like I knew nothing. I was 15. I might have been 16. I don't know how I'd be driving when I was 15, so I think I was 16. Anyway, that's nor here nor there. But he pulled me over, and he was just like just a jerk about it. Like uh, these are young girls, and like he made me feel like a piece of crap. Like I just felt lower than low. These something my parents were called to drop all my friends off and go home. I think it was not, but like 3 years later, we found out that he was a pedophile, and he had a long history of it too, and it freaked me out.
It makes
So
sense why he pulled over a bunch of girls for a bullshit reason. That's not a law.
yeah, but it made me wonder, like, why did nothing happen that night? It could have something could have crazy happened, like I don't know. But I was thinking to myself too, I was like, oh my God, he had my driver's license, he knew where we lived, he pulled everybody's license, like he knew everything, and I don't know. And I'm not saying like every tough, really tough cop has those types of issues, but they're hiding something, like whether it's like a bad marriage or like just really bad anxiety issues, depression issues, PTSD issues, whatever it might be. They're cheating on their taxes. I feel like it's something to be that type of person, but who knows? It could just be they're in this environment and they have that gene, and it's just part of who they are.
See, it's funny. I stopped. Remember, I told you I stopped two 15-year-olds that snuck out a
Mm.
boy and a girl, and I wasn't a dick to them. I mean, I was nice to them because I didn't have a need to be a dick because I made them call their parents and come pick them up, and I knew the ramifications of their parents coming to get them.
Yeah.
That I don't have to be a dick to them, but your parents are going to do it. And my favorite part when the boy's mom showed up because he took the car without him because he was 15. And first thing she said to him when she got out of the car, she's like, "You know, you're not getting your damn license when you turn 16 now." I was like, gotcha.
Damn, that sucks.
Like, to me, that was, I mean, he still did get a citation for no driver's license because he was driving without driver's license.
Yeah.
But to me, his parents' disappointment and anger would do more than me being a dick to him.
Yeah.
If I'm a dick to him, he's going to be like, "Well, that cop was just a dick." But it's like, "Oh, the cop was actually nice. He just made us call our parents." My parents were the ones that were angry. So.
You were the reason you called the parents, though.
No, they are the reason I called their parents because they snuck out.
And that's true.
Took the
That's
car
true.
without asking.
It's their fault.
It's not me. I didn't do that.
That's true.
Like that whole thing, like with that lady that was a complete bitch with the speeding ticket, and she was being just super horrible to me, and I was like, "Ma'am, you don't have to be rude. I'm not the one that was speeding."
Back at you. That's great. Yeah.
And I had to stop myself at the very end from saying anything rude when she threw my pen on my clipboard, and I had to bend over and pick it up because it fell on the ground. I was about to call her a fat piece of shit, but I stopped myself. So.
That's personal.
Well,
wow.
She was being a bitch.
Okay.
But I didn't say it, and I held it in. I got in my car, and I turned my cameras off, and then I said it.
Oh. I always wonder, too, because you're now in a city that's a lot smaller. You do a lot more, like, community policing. I mean, county was a lot bigger. And I always think about this, like when I go to different departments, like Dallas, like there's so much shit going on in Dallas. All the precincts are so busy all the time. And out of all the agencies that I've gone to, like they're the ones that have the most like tough cop mentality people there. Just arms crossed, like, oh, this is bullshit.
I could see that though. I mean, what those guys put up with, those guys and ladies have to put up with. I mean, those they are running call to call to call. They don't ever get a break.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to a few of them, and they're like, yeah, we get on shift, and there's like 8 calls waiting for us already.
Yeah, I
Like,
can
we
imagine.
don't ever get a break. So 12 hours straight, they are just balls to the wall.
Yeah.
So I I can imagine. I've never been that busy,
Mm.
and but even when I worked for the county and we had busy days where we were running call to call, I was worn out at the end of that day just from all the emotions and all the
Mm.
adrenaline's up and downs, and
Mm.
I can't imagine a full 12 hours of that.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what that does to your brain and to your body.
Mm.
It's crazy. So
I remember going to, we had like a training session and it was like 8 in the morning. And these are the ones that were like just getting on shift. And I don't think they even started their shift. I think they had to do the training and then they started their shift. And maybe not. I don't know what their hours were. They could have been on shift a couple hours, but I just remember going into that room and it was a precinct where like you go into the building and it was like a 1,000-year-old building. You could smell the asbestos from the walls.
asbestos, so good.
You go down this like basement. There's like a huge like wall of all these officers that died, like either on the job or like after retirement. I'm like, oh, that's really nice to see that. Like, it's your uniforms on, you're ready to go out. And just being in that room, there was probably 60 people in there, 60 officers, and just like the energy in that room, I wanted to take a nap. Like everybody just looked miserable, tired as hell. Like it's almost like they were off their shift and they weren't. They were just starting or they had just started, and it was just I never experienced that with any other like agency that we did these trainings with. And it was just, oh my god, I can't even imagine.
Right.
Mm.
And at that time, I think when you did that, they didn't even get their new raise yet, and they were still making pretty shitty
Oh
money for as
really?
much as they were. I mean, Dallas was notable for making like no money for how big the city was, for how
That's
much money that
true.
city has,
Yeah.
and they're not only running themselves ragged, they're not getting paid shit at the time. Like now, I think they're making a lot. Like they got a really big raise, and they're
Yeah.
making a really good amount now. But they deserve it for how much they work. You know.
Yeah. Also, that was funny because right after that one, we had a debrief at the other precinct down the street. It was like 10 minutes, probably 10, 15 minutes. And going into that one, it was like in a high rise somewhere and it was like beautiful and like new and you could smell the new carpet. And I was like, what the hell? Like, could you imagine just like getting hired and going to that precinct and like
Yeah.
realizing there's these other ones that are like really nice and
And
fancy?
that's another thing with Dallas too. I mean, there's all those different precincts. You can work in an area that yeah, you're still busy on calls, but it's a nicer area, or
Mm,
you can work in the downtown district, or even I don't remember what a district was, but where all like the homeless people are. So you know, if you're in that area, you're constantly busy with stuff.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can work in Oaklawn,
Mm.
and
Oh, nice. Yeah.
that's they still get calls, but that's more of a uppity, just be honest, a gay area. So
Yeah.
they don't have as much. I would think
Not as much crime as like Oak Cliff, I'm sure.
probably not. No, but I bet you they handle a lot of domestics over there.
Hmm, maybe. Yeah. They have beautiful houses over there. It's a nice place.
Or you could what's the one street that Love Field's off of with all the
Mockingbird or
yeah
Mary Hines.
Mockingbird, but
Mm.
what's the neighborhood right there? The giant houses, the millions of dollar.
Oh,
Or you could work
Highland
Highland
Park.
Park. Yeah, you
Yeah.
could work in that area.
Yeah.
But I think that area it's weird because you've
Well,
got those
no.
extremely expensive houses. Oh, Highland Park has their own
Yeah,
department.
they have
Yeah,
their own
never mind.
department. Yeah. They're um they're firefighters, cops, and
Yeah, they work all
EMSs
of
or
them. Yeah,
EMT. Yeah.
which is crazy too. I don't understand that. I feel like they'd be really busy with crime a lot too.
They're not these wellness checks I go to, yeah, they're most of them are like it's when it happens, like everyone gets excited because something's happening.
Really,
But
you would
yeah,
think just because of like you said, Harry Hines is right next door,
Yeah.
and Harry Hines is trash. Like that's a
Yeah.
trash area.
But I think Harry Hines is still Dallas.
Well, I know, but those people would
Oh,
easily walk into
yeah, that's
Highland Park.
true.
You
You
know,
would think that, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
'cause
they get action there, but I don't think it's as much as,
yeah,
you know, Dallas gets.
I mean it's crazy because it's to me Highland Park. I know it's its own apartment, but that's still Dallas.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. But also, too, like that tough cop mentality. I've heard a lot, and this is all departments, like most departments, of cops not seeking help, knowing that they have issues because they feel that they'll be taken off the street.
yeah.
I have I've heard like personally someone saying that to me, and I was like, "What? Who did you hear that from?" It's like, no, they cannot take you off the street if you have some like anxiety issues, depression issues, even if you have like a severe issue that's a mental disorder. They cannot take you off the street unless you are out there trying to hurt somebody or yourself. There's no way they can do that to you.
Well, I mean, for years I was the same way.
Mm.
You know, I never went through the VA to do my disability stuff that I earned from being in the military
Mm.
because I was always worried that that would affect my job, getting a job, or, my job as a police officer. Like, oh, you're disabled, you can't work.
Yeah.
Or when I was having issues, like I mean, it took me time to go and talk to somebody because I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna. They might, and of course, I had assholes for bosses that made it even worse for me at that point.
Yeah.
We're not gonna talk about that again because I've talked about it enough. But it's kind of like, yeah, you want to do this because you want to help yourself and you want to help your family by helping yourself.
Mm.
But if you lose your job for it,
Yeah.
you're not helping anybody. So, and if you think you're going to lose your job for it, so of course you can hide it, not want to talk to
Yeah.
anybody.
I mean, I think you've been on patrol for like 2 years when this happened. There was a guy in New York City. He was a cop and he was struggling with depression and he went on medication, antidepressant, just a normal antidepressant, not even like an antipsychotic, just antidepressant. And the department found out about it and they fired him. And he sued them for millions of dollars.
Good.
And I don't know what happened.
I thought he won. I thought
He might have won. Yeah. I don't know. I can't say that yes or no because I don't remember. Did he win?
I thought so, but I don't remember either.
Oh,
You're right.
yeah. And I know that's a different state, but here in Texas, at least I know you can even be on medication and they can't take your job or like take you off the street for that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was taking a medication that showed as an amphetamine, and I got into an accident and I had to go take a piss test, and my piss test popped for amphetamines, but I had a prescription for it, so
Yeah.
there's nothing they could do about it.
I
So
have a meth prescription.
yeah,
Here
I
you
got a
go.
prescription for methamphetamine.
I'm allowed
It
to
wasn't
do
meth.
this.
It wasn't meth.
I totally would have said that. Well, yeah, there's people who take ADHD medication, and that is,
That
amphetamines.
that pops for same
Yeah,
thing. So
yeah. And it's funny
because
because
that's what my lieutenant even asked me. So, do you take ADHD medication? I'm like, no, it's a different type of medication, but it's still meth.
yeah, but it's supposed to manage your symptoms and make you more functional. So why wouldn't you be able to take a medication like that?
Yeah,
Because if you're off that medication, you're not functional, and
and
your
then
symptoms are all over the place.
who knows what could happen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And obviously, my methodology is not medication, but I'm just saying you have to go that route. It's safe. It's okay. I'd rather not just manage your symptoms. I'd rather, go to the core of things and understand it and manage it that way. Or not manage it, but take care of it.
yeah. Try to actually fix it, not just
Yeah.
mask it with medication.
Yeah. But, I have a lot of clients who do take medication too. And, that's pretty successful in therapy. But you will not be taken off the streets if you have
No,
issues like that.
I mean, we had someone that we worked with, and they were extremely depressed and wanted to kill themselves, and they ended up taking some time off for work. The place I worked took all their weapons from them
Mm.
until they were better. But then once they got their stuff regulated and figured out, they let them come back to work.
Yeah. And that too, like I said, if you're not hurting someone else or yourself, that's like obviously you're going to take the certain precautions if it is like a suicidal thing. If you are like so severely depressed that it's gone to that point, then yeah, like and they might not even take it. Some departments won't even take it to the street. Maybe they'll work with you on it depending on how severe it is. But if it's that severe, like what you're saying, yeah. But they're not gonna like take your badge from you.
Right.
They're
I
gonna let you
mean,
have
they
that
let
time.
they let that person take the time they needed, get themselves regulated again,
Yeah.
and then let them come back to work,
Yeah.
which is what should happen.
Yeah.
Unless they're doing something that's crossing boundaries while working,
Mm.
which that's a whole different story. That's exactly how it should happen. I mean, I've heard, and I don't know how true it is, but there was a jailer that I heard that was having substance abuse issues, and they let them go to treatment and then let them come back because they went on their own and said, "Hey, I'm having these issues.
Mm.
I need to get help," and they helped them. They let them help them.
Yeah.
They let them help themselves by doing that, going to rehab or whatever they did. I don't know the whole story because I don't really
Yeah.
know who. I just heard this
Yeah.
hearsay, and then they let them come back when they were better.
As it should be. Like, yes.
Now, if you get in trouble for it because you don't tell anybody, that's a different story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you are adult enough to say, "Hey, I've got a fucking problem. I need help.
Yeah.
I love my job. I don't want to lose my job, but I need fucking help."
Yeah.
That's a whole different story.
Yeah. And it's good to hear that like there's support there. And but obviously there does need to be a change in that too. Like the organization I work for, and there's a lot of organizations out there that do this, but the more preventable approach to things of giving that awareness and psychoeducation to people to better understand their symptoms and what they're going through, so they don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Take that whole time that they could go see someone while they're still in the street and working through their issues.
And that's why we say talk to somebody.
Mm.
It's okay to talk to people. It's okay to talk to somebody to make yourself better. Because all that's going to do is make you better at your job because you're not constantly thinking of the bad things. You know how to handle those things, and that'll make you better at what you do.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of toxic positivity too. People can like tell themselves that doesn't work at all. It's not very effective. And when you're doing it yourself, you get a lot of that toxic positivity, and it's not doing you any favors. When you hear
Right.
it, talk to somebody who, even if they're a professional, not even like peer support groups. I know we talked about that too. Someone who just listens to you, like just getting that off your chest, getting it out of your mind, it helps. That helps tremendously.
Oh my God, so much.
Yeah.
That's, like I said, that's why I wanted to go after I had my issues. I decided I wanted to do that. I wanted to be there for people that needed help. That's why I went to a peer support class.
Yeah.
And it sucks I didn't really get to use it because the department didn't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
But even though it's weird because this department did certain things for certain people,
Mm-hmm.
but won't do it for everyone, it's like,
Yeah.
let this happen.
Yeah.
Get out of the old age
Oh my
and let's
God.
go forward,
Like
please.
talking about your feelings is such a big issue.
How
Like,
dare
I'm
you?
just like, that's the tough man or tough cop
Yes,
thing.
that's
It's-
exactly that.
I'm gonna get really nerdy on you though, because I'm
Oh.
gonna talk.
You put your glasses on?
Yes.
Actually.
So Freud, and I know I don't bring him up a lot because a lot of his things have been debunked, and it's very controversial. But one of the
You want to fuck your mother.
yes. Psychodynamic theory is very interesting, and I love listening to it, but I never use it. But one of the things that he was just known for is psychotherapy. It's talking, and it's the story of Anna. Anna was this woman in this like really small village who was a crazy person. She would yell and spit at people. She had bad hygiene. She was homeless. She talked in what they called a word salad, which is basically like words that are like real words that have meaning, but they're just jumbled up that they don't make sense in a sentence.
I have met people like that.
Oh, I'm sure you have. It's still a thing. But yeah, no one wanted to touch her, go near her. Like they were scared of her. And tons of doctors from like all over the world were trying to help this poor woman. And Mr. Freud comes in. He's like, I think I can handle this. And he brings her into his
gotcha,
office.
girl.
Gotcha. And he brings her in his office, the whole cliche, like, couch and chair thing going on. He has a glass of water, which she was known to, like, not have good nutrition, like, wouldn't drink or anything. And he placed this glass in front of her, and he's like, you want to drink that? And from the coherent shit that she did say, she was like, no, a wolf had salivated, thank you, salivated in it, and I can't drink it. It's contaminated. Okay. Well, what about you, Anna? Tell me about you. And so the whole hour, she went from like word salad, some coherent stuff about like crazy stuff like the wolf to like 35, 40 minutes into it. She starts talking about her childhood. She starts talking about herself. She starts talking about this whole life that she had. And at the very end of it, she goes and she drinks the cup of water. And he goes, "How do you feel?" She goes, I feel a lot better. And after that, and I don't know if he saw her more, or if that was just like a one time thing, but she got married to a really reputable man and had children and raised them on a farm, and she died a very happy woman. That is just the power of just freaking talking. That's
Yes.
all she had to. He did no intervention. He just let her talk, and that is the power of talking.
Letting or having someone that actually wants to listen to you,
Mm-hmm.
that helps
Yeah,
so much.
yeah, because no one wanted to listen to
That's crazy. And that's I'm no Freud,
her. No.
but that's one of those things when you do deal with people like that. We've been we learn that, through academy and classes and stuff that, sometimes just let them talk, let them say their crazy shit and
Yeah.
don't quite entertain it
Mm.
like, oh, there's Martian. They're like, oh yeah, I see a Martian there, right? But ask them about it. But what is the Martian doing? What does the Martian look like? Let them talk. Let them
Yeah.
say their thing.
And you get a better perspective of their situation too, even if it's through that like nonsense talk. But there is a good point though. Like you guys listen to people talk. You let them do that, but who the hell's listening to you talk?
Right?
You're always there for the community. You're always there to help or to deflect or whatever, but it's always for somebody else and no one's listening to you.
Yeah. I mean, thank God there's people now that want to listen to us and
Yeah.
want to help us. But you're right. I mean, it's taken so long, and then it's taken so long for people to realize that, oh, maybe we should listen to them and their issues. So,
Yeah.
hey, these cops are dying 10 years after retirement because they're so fucked up and their bodies are so fucked up because their mind is so fucked up from everything they've done.
Yeah.
Let's listen to them. Let's talk to them. Let's find out why. Why are they dying? That
Yeah. There's got to be an answer here.
right? There's obviously something because it's happening a lot.
Yeah. Thank goodness for the people who started this research and really dove into this population because,
Yeah,
I mean, it's always been a thing.
it's completely awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it sucks that it took people who've gone through this or had family in this to understand it, and that people didn't want to reach out on their own to do it.
Yeah.
But that had nothing to do with law enforcement.
Yeah.
At least somebody.
There's always a nerd somewhere who's like, this is different.
Yeah, yeah.
Why is this different?
Well, what I'm saying is people you work for.
Mm,
Her father was a police officer.
mm,
Her mother was a nurse, right?
mm,
Or the group that I've talked to, the guy I've talked to, he was a cop and a Marine, and
mm,
he just realized that it took someone who knew somebody to
I see what you're
understand it.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you live that. I mean, being in a household growing up in that, like, especially learning or like being in the psychological world, obviously those two things are going to connect with each other and you have more awareness of it, but that's it.
It's nice though. It's really nice to see it, and it's nice to see that it is catching on more and more. I mean, yeah, it's taking its time, and I wish it wouldn't take as long as it is, but it is nice. And I've talked to several cops, talked to them and firefighters and stuff, and
Yeah.
a lot of them say the same thing. It's like, hey, yeah, this is something we really need to get out there, and it's nice to see that there are people that care.
So let me ask you this: with these cops who have that severe, I'll say, tough cop mentality, do you feel like with all this information out there and all this awareness, do you feel like those types of people will ever change?
No.
Why not?
So I was talking to a firefighter, and he kind of had that same mentality, and I talked to him about the people you work for, and I was like, oh, have you guys? Because he works for a department that deals with your organization. So I asked him about it, and he acted like he's never heard of it before.
Hmm.
And I, kind of explained it to him and how it's good. And he basically had that attitude of, oh yeah, that's pussy shit. Like that's not for me. Like I don't need that. And even though we were talking about things that he's seen and dealt with that obviously has an issue with it, but he's like, oh no, that's not for me. And it's like, come
Mm.
on, bro, it's
Yeah.
okay. And I was just, acquaintances with him. His son was playing hockey with our son, and
Mm.
I was just, I was almost baffled though. It's like we're about the same age, you don't have to have this attitude anymore.
Yeah.
It's not needed.
Yeah. I think that's all gonna play a part in like our cognitive evolution, especially in this population. Because like, I went to a department and we were just doing like the psychoeducation, raising that awareness and all that stuff. And we had one guy who was a patrol officer, and he was getting counseling with us, so he was very open about like telling everyone else about it, and talking through the when he could talk through the classes. And he it was cool hearing that, like how open he was and how supportive he was of it. And then we had one guy who was a detention officer. He did it for, I think he said like 15 years. He was an older guy, and the instructor was like asking just like some simple questions or whatever, and you're supposed to like write things on a paper in one of these exercises, and he didn't write anything at all. She kind of like called him out on it, like, well, what's going on with you? And he was like, well, I don't have any problems. She's like, no problems at all? He's like, nope, no problems. This job doesn't affect me whatsoever. I don't
Bullshit.
have any issues. And the look on her face, I could see like her like clinical mind like just going at it, like she wanted to ask him all these questions, which is like, okay, well, good for you. It's like,
It wasn't the place to do it.
yeah, but it's funny, like there's the two opposite sides of things, and like you see that in every department, you see that
And
everywhere.
that's crazy because I did corrections for damn near 5 years, and it fucked with me a
Right?
lot. There was a lot of issues there that not
Yeah.
only did I not want to do it because I wanted to be a patrol officer, and I was certified, but I was still working in jail. But no, the job fucks you
Oh
up.
my god, yeah. Either that or being out on the streets, like either one. It's just, if you really have convinced yourself that your job, especially these jobs, has no effect on you, there's something in your life that's probably really hard for you to get past. You're just like avoiding things, or something's happening. Something maladaptive is happening in your life.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what that might be, but to have that mindset of like, oh, I've got this. I have this under control. I mean, to me it's a little narcissistic, but I'm not saying he's a narcissist. It's a trait that's like, you feel like you have everything under control and you can handle it, but it's okay to say, I can't handle this right now because of A, B, and C that's happening in my life, and it's
Hmm.
affecting all these other people, not just myself. To be able to be, man enough or woman enough to be like, yeah, there's something going on
Yeah, this
here.
job doesn't affect me, but I drink to excess till I pass out every
Right.
night.
Might hit my wife a couple times.
Yeah, yeah, but no, it doesn't affect me at all.
Nope, nope, fine, totally fine. Or even like, you might not even be that extreme. I'd be like, isolate yourself for like hours on end, like that. That's also,
No, yeah. But before I had my divine intervention on talking to people about my issues. I was the same way though. Like I
yeah.
would come home, I drank a lot.
Mm,
I drank a lot. I would isolate myself a lot.
mm,
I it's funny. Like I've heard guys say things, or I say guys because they're mainly guys, but say things like, "Oh, well, you just need something." Like I would talk about, like, yeah, have some issues. I was talking about, oh, you just need something to do. Like I go home and I just play video games. It's like, okay, so you're isolating yourself by just playing video
right.
games all day. Yeah, yeah, that's working for you, isn't it?
Don't pay attention to my family at all and
Yeah.
neglect everybody.
I'm just gonna play Call of Duty for. I work 12 hours. I'm gonna play Call of Duty for 6 when I get home, sleep for a few hours, and go back to work. Where's your family? No, they're they're there.
And
All
I
right.
think isolation is more dangerous than like alcoholism, because like alcoholism, you can see that, and the next day you're like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that to that person or punched that wall or whatever. Like some of the
Or you
outcomes
feel it
pretty
because you feel
obvious.
like shit the
Yeah,
next
like
day.
gosh, stop doing this. But like isolation, it's like we always tell people, if you want to play video games, we're not telling you not to. Go play video games. That's self care. But if you're doing it for 2 hours, that's self care. If you're doing it for 6 hours, that's isolation.
Yeah,
There's a difference.
if it's taking time away from your family
Yeah.
and your friends, then yeah, there's an issue there.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely.
Oh no, I talked to my friends on it too. That doesn't really count.
But I think that's like human behavior because like I feel like in myself like I have a lot of instances where I'm like, oh, I don't need this or I don't need that. Like I'm totally fine, and then it builds up and builds up. But I can't imagine in your population of how bad that must be because you're supposed to be perfect at your job.
Right.
Of course, you're gonna be perfect in your real life.
And that also goes back to the whole tough cop mentality. I'm
Mm,
fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't need any help because
mm,
this job doesn't affect me because I'm tough.
mm-hmm.
The toughest motherfucker out there can still have issues.
Yeah, yeah. And it's understand the brain associates it that way because you have to be tough.
Yeah.
You do, but not around your family.
No. No. That they're the people you don't have to be tough around.
Mm,
Now, be tough when you're out around, when they're with you and you're out with other people. Yeah, of course you want to be tough because you want to protect them. But when you're just at home, hanging out on your weekend,
mm,
relax, let it go, talk to your spouse.
mm. Yeah,
I mean, I'm lucky I have a spouse that wants to hear all
you're
of it.
so lucky.
Extremely lucky. She's beautiful. She's smart.
Oh, keep going.
But you do. You want to listen to me. You want to hear what's going on in
Sometimes
my
too
life.
much, I feel like, though.
Sometimes, yeah, I think you're a little weird, but no, but it's nice. It's nice that I have that. Some people don't have that where their spouses don't want to hear it.
Mm,
But you don't have to tell your spouse the gory details.
mm,
You can just tell them, "Hey, this is kind of bothering me. Would you mind?
mm,
Can we can we just lay on the couch and cuddle and
mm.
talk? It doesn't
Yeah,
have to be about this. Just you know, anything."
that's true too. Like, if you and your spouse don't have that kind of relationship either, like, just talking about something completely different. If you have like friends that aren't cops, that you talk about something else. Just talking in general, you might not even have to talk about the issue that you feel like you're having, and that even helps. It's not going to solve your issue, but
Right,
it's
right.
still going to like help you and socialize and get your mind off of things.
But also doing that, I feel, can open the door to be like, "Hey, I'm doing this, still having some issues.
Hmm.
Maybe I need to talk to a professional.
Yeah.
Maybe that would help me."
Yeah.
And again, it's not wrong, people.
Yeah.
It does wonders. I mean, I thought the same thing. I always thought that, oh no, people think I'm weak and blah 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 blah. But when I ended up talking to somebody, it's been amazing. I mean, I'm talking to someone right now, and
It's not me.
that's not her. Yeah, that's not my wife. And it was nice to talk to him because it was an unbiased opinion of something, and I'm just it's nice to do.
Yeah.
It just really is.
I I still see it. And I know it's like more the older population more so than like our or no, older generation than ours, but like I've heard people talk about like, oh, that Billy and Sally got married and they have to go to couples counseling. Like it's like a negative thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, what? No, good for them. Like that's awesome. Like
Good. They want to
what?
strengthen their marriage and be a happy couple.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with that?
I know couples who seek couples counseling, and obviously everybody has issues, but they don't have severe issues to like go to couples counseling. They have like they want to do this for like better communication and just like preventable things. Like there's nothing really going on. They just want to have this to like move forward and have a healthy relationship. Like even then, like you don't even have to have issues. You just talk to somebody and
Right.
work out your whatever communication or whatever it is.
But if you are having issues,
Yeah,
please do it.
both sides of that. Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
mean,
But to utilize therapy in that type of way, whether it's individual or couples or family or whatever, it's such. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. And
not
I
at
don't
all.
know how many times I could express that to people.
Yeah. I mean, and I say the same thing. I've told several friends, like, when I went through my first issues and I talked to somebody and I came back with a different attitude. I was almost a different cop. Like, I wasn't as cynical and I wasn't
Yeah.
as angry and miserable at work and at home. And I tell you, like, hey, please, if you're having some sort of issues, and I told them something like, if you need someone to talk to, you can always call me.
Yeah.
I'll always try to talk to you. If I'm not busy or not doing anything, please, let's talk. Like,
Yeah.
I'm there for you. You're my friends. You're the people I rely on to keep me safe in issues, and I'd rather you be a healthy, sane mind
Yeah.
if I know you have my back
Yeah, that's true.
than you in a crisis of your own mind and you're not paying attention, and then
Yeah.
someone gets shot and killed, or
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Be more
don't even
functional.
just think about it as yourself. Think about it as, hey, it's for my buddies.
Mm.
I always used to tell you about being in the Marine Corps and saying like, why did why would you go to war for a country that blah 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 and all that shit, especially during Iraq when it was all, oh, they're just doing it for the oil, and
Yeah.
why would you do that, serve a country and kill people for a shitty country or whatever people would say, right? It's like, it's not about that. It's about the guy next to you. It's about keeping them safe. It's about your buddy that you're going to war with.
Mm.
It's the same thing in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Keep yourself mentally and physically healthy,
Mm.
because it's not just your life. It could be your good friend's life, your buddy's life, that
Mm.
something's happening and you have to get there and help them. And if your mind's not in the right place and you're not paying attention, you
Yeah.
could lose a friend for it, or you could lose your own life. Like, I mean,
Yeah. It frustrates me sometimes because, like, I look at it this way: if you go to the doctor and like they diagnose you with like having type 2 diabetes or like high cholesterol, you could have a heart attack soon.
diabetes.
Diabetes. What do you do? Are you weak? Do you feel like, you don't tell anybody about that? And some people keep that secret. It's understandable, but I don't feel like people think that's like a weakness. What do? You might take medications for it. You might change your diet. You start doing these things to better your health. But when it comes to like psychological things, that's a weakness. Like, I
Yeah.
can't do this. So with diabetes, let's say you're not telling your body like, "Oh, I'm fine. It'll correct itself, and I'm not going to change anything about my life. It'll be fine. I have it under control." If you keep telling yourself that, nothing's going to happen. It's probably going to get worse. And in that instance, sugar levels, if you're, out there shooting somebody, pass out, like that would affect you physiologically. But when it comes to the psychological stuff, like, you're doing the same thing by telling yourself, like, "Oh, I have this under control. I'm better than this," whatever it is. So you're telling yourself, but in the end, you're not fixing anything. You're not
Right.
helping yourself, and it is detrimental if you don't.
Right. People don't look at you like you're weak because you got cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're having a mental health issue, people shouldn't look at you like you're weak, because it's not weakness. It's your body. It's your mind. I mean, this is you can't help it. You have to
Yeah.
work through it.
And that too. Cancer is a great example. Cancer is literally your body. You were born with cancer cells. Your body is literally killing you. So when it comes to like depression and all these things that are happening in your head, that is literally killing you, but in a psychological way.
You're not weak because you have depression or
Yeah.
anxiety or you have thoughts of suicide. It doesn't mean you're weak.
Yeah.
It means you're having issues and you need to work on them.
Yeah.
You have cancer, you go see a doctor. You
Mm-hmm.
have mental issues, mental health issues, you need to go see a doctor.
Yeah. I mean, cancer, I look at it like your cancer cells are aligned in a certain way. It's attacking other cells. How it, maybe becomes metastatic, it gets to your whole body. Like, that's how it does without treatment. With, like, let's say depression, it's your neurological pathways are set a certain way. And if you do not correct that in your neurons, you can change those with therapy. You can change that with insight, with self actualization. Those neurons detach from your synapses and it goes, finds another, pathway that's more suitable. It literally does that. You could see it, like, if you YouTube that, like, it breaks off and it goes, finds another neurological pathway. So it's basically, if you're comparing this to cancer cells,
It's like getting chemo.
but yeah, that's great. I like that. You are doing the work just like you would be doing with chemo. Exactly. Smart.
Sometimes I got something.
You always got something.
Is that a sexual thing?
No, I was complimenting your intelligence. I take it back now.
Oh, there it goes. There we go.
But yeah, I think we just kind of did full circle there with that tough cop mentality, and it's there, and it's more prominent than general population. But um, who knows? Maybe we can help those that are super severe. But I doubt that'll ever happen.
We need to change the stigma.
Yeah, and I think it's happening. It's slowly happening.
Slowly happening.
It's this very slow evolution of it, but hopefully, in our kids' generation, they won't have so many hurdles to jump over to talk about mental health and seek therapy and
Right.
feel like they're weak for doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And this is not just for law enforcement. I mean, it's everyone.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I want to get that awareness of like psychological aspect of things need to be at the same standard as the physiological issues. Because people always take those issues as like, this is so important, which it is. Of course it is. It's your health. But the psychological is just as important.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I got to say about
Thanks, Forrest. Well, guys, like we say every episode, please, if you need someone to talk to, reach out and talk to somebody. Talk to a family member, talk to a friend, talk to a doctor.
that.
That's
Yeah.
probably your best bet. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, reach out to somebody. Reach out to us. We will gladly talk to you if you're feeling it. If you're feeling shitty, reach out. I actually we had someone reach out the other day. It wasn't in a mental health issue, but he found our podcast, listened to it, and said, "Hey, I had the same issues with my chain of command, and I haven't been in law enforcement for a while." He's like, "I'm trying to get back," and he thanked us for our podcast, and he said, "This is really awesome. We're really happy that you guys are talking about this stuff."
And thank you for support.
Yeah, and we really do appreciate it. I can name any names, even though I think your Facebook name was fake. It was one of them. One of them he didn't want people to know who he was, kind of things. But
Yeah,
I wasn't going to say his
understandable.
name anyway. But
Mm.
yeah, we do. We really do appreciate that support, and we
Yeah.
appreciate that feedback because that's what we're here for. We're here to change the stigma. We're here to help out. We're here to show you that you're not the only one going through this bullshit. We all go through it, and there's ways to help out and fix it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, guys, again, like we say every episode, please like our Facebook page.
Please.
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 Go on our YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube, subscribe to our Apple, subscribe to our podcast. If you're just subscribed to one, go and subscribe to all of them. That helps us out a little bit.
And if you want to hear us talk about anything in
Yeah.
particular, give us a shout out.
Give us a shout out. Let us know. If there's a certain topic that you think would be relevant to hear and you want to hear it, send us messages on Facebook, or you can email us at policecondition@gmail.com. We'll gladly do some research and talk about it. We should have some episodes coming up, or we should have some guests on in a little couple episodes. I'm not sure when exactly. We've had some scheduling issues, but we should be getting that going pretty soon. But yeah, guys, like I said, like us on all our pages, listen to us, send us messages, comment on it. We appreciate the feedback. Again, you've been listening to The Police Condition. My name's Ryan.
I'm Laura.
And we're 1042.